scientific minds we have today.
Always had hands. Ah, welcome back. Welcome back to the No Chops podcast. I'm your host, Lump, Life's Ugly Money Problem. You can call me Life's Ugly. You can call me Lump. And welcome back to the No Chops podcast where we chop it up. With no chops, let's get into it. It's been a couple weeks since we recorded. We had a little Christmas break. People went on vacation. People got together with their family. My family, we met at my parents' house in Southwest. We had I don't want to say Siamese. It was like half Christmas, half seafood boil. My brother hooked up some shrimp and they had lobster and crabs and then the rest was like holiday. So it was like stuffing and yams and it was great. Happy New Year to everybody. Welcome back. This is episode 3. I'm happy to be here. Current events. Today in Philly it just rained all crazy and I'm glad that it's just raining as opposed to it being snow because it would have been terrible. Today we're going to cover current events, which is Cat Williams, if you've been paying attention. We're also going to talk about my early dealings and starts in comedy. We're going to cover sports. And then we'll talk about some job stories. I done had a few jobs in my day. So going backwards again, we're going to talk about job stories, places that I worked at, worked for, had situations in. Then we're going to talk about sports. We got update on the Flyers, the Sixers, a young man that's going to make a lot of NIL money in the future. And we're going to talk about the Philadelphia Eagles. We're going to talk about stand-up comedy, my early beginnings in it, where I started, how I started, maybe even before that, because I got a couple stories about how growing up, I used to watch a lot of stand-up. And let's just go ahead and open it with the Cat Williams. I don't know what to call it. I don't know whether to call it a fiasco, a debacle. We'll just call it an interview. If you were under a rock somewhere, although like 60-something million people have watched it, and I'm probably over-exaggerating that number. Shannon Sharpe, a former football player, had an interview on his personal podcast called Club Shay Shay with a comedian, Cat Williams, who was very, very funny, and it was crazy. I myself laughed at a lot of it. Some things he said I agreed with, some things he said I did not agree with. And I myself, I'm really not going to cover too much of it because it's not my pay grade. I can say some words, but they're not going to help me. I wish Cat Williams the best, and I hope one day I see him or he sees me and we get to work together. Whether he pays me or not, I kind of don't care. Just to have that on your accolades would be a lot for me right now. But of course, I would like some money. Speaking of stand-up comedy, I've always loved the art of stand-up comedy. When I was a kid, my dad used to have records and tapes of Red Fox. Of course, he didn't let us listen to them unsupervised. And the first album of stand-up that he let us hear or see was Robin Harris's Baby Kids. Now, if you do not know who Robin Harris is or what Baby Kids is, you need to pause this video and find it, because that is, and not the movie. The cartoon movie after he passed, or it was released after he passed, was good. It was very good, but it held no justice to the tape, the actual cassette tape that I heard, I want to say in 89? I want to say it was 1989. Can we get somebody to look that up? When did Robin Harris's Baby Kids tape come out? That's the crew of excellence getting it together for me. If you heard that in the back, I remember my dad playing it in the car, and then he brought the tape from out the car and played it in the house, and we sat there and listened to that whole album back and forth, and it was so good. I also remember when I was 11 years old, my father for my 11th birthday, I got a television that had a Nintendo a regular Nintendo, the regular Nintendo inside of it, so the games went in and out of the television. And I got a cable box with all of the channels. And of course, I used to watch the three major music channels at the time, which were VH1, MTV, and BET. But I also watched Comedy Central when it was like 4 to 6 comics sitting at a table talking. Like I don't even believe they had clips of it yet. They may have, but I really don't remember it. But it was very, very good. And I used to love watching like Rita Rutner, and it was 1989. I was correct. So the Baby Kids album around that same time. I was born in 77, so I was 10, 11. This was after my brother Kanye was born in 88. So yeah, on my 11th birthday, I got a television with a Nintendo in it with like 5 games. I don't remember all 5 of them, but I do remember I got Super Mario. I remember I got this game. But he did give me Double Dribble, if I'm not mistaken. There wasn't a football game. It was another game called Pitfall. Another game called Viper, which I cried at the end of. One day we'll tell that story. I don't think it's very good, but we'll tell it. And something else. I think it was like Galaga or Galactica, or one of them shooting space games, and I liked it. But I also got a cable box with all of the channels on it, right? So the what, Baby Kids aired in 90? All right, so 89, 90, that's the same time. A lot of people watching this don't remember 1990 at all. And they were there for it. I had all the channels on a cable box, all the channels. So I had all the music channels, we had all the sports channels, we had all the dirty channels. Like I was too young, but I had all the channels. Like I used to turn the TV down and fucking watch Adam and Eve, and the Spice Channel was 68. That was way Cablevision. Used to watch that, but I also watched Comedy Central. I did watch a lot of that, and I ingested a lot of it during the years where I had access to cable. I did watch people like Richard Jeni, George Carlin, some other folks that I can't remember off the top of my head, especially right now in this moment. But I could come back and give a better updated list. I never knew that in the future I would end up being a comic. Also, when I was 11 years old, I had my tonsils removed, and at the time they give you the gas, like it was a gas that they give you, and it was flavored. So I got like root beer flavored gas, whatever. And I remember being on the gurney, being rolled to the operating room. They gave me the gas, and they said count backwards from 100. And when I woke up 3 hours after I was supposed to, the doctor told me I was one of the first people he ever saw make it back to 1. And so I slept for 3 hours after that. But I remember them saying to me, like, yo, you are hilarious at 11. I started watching comedy and going to shows. I went to a couple shows at the Laugh House. I have a very funny friend named Meatloaf. Meatloaf, I used to be skinny on Instagram. That's my guy. We were from the same neighborhood in Southwest, and you know, I said to him, I said, yo, you are hilarious. I think that you should go to an open mic. And I said, if you go to an open mic, I'll go to an open mic. I'll go with you, and you know what I mean, I'll sign us both up or whatever. And he agreed to it. And we went, and we both performed that night. I literally read my first set off a yellow legal pad, and it was a bunch of like half-witted one-liners and jokes about my life that was going on at the time. I remember I used to have a joke. One of my first jokes was about how my son's mother, Sugar, shout to her, had a real job, and I was not working I didn't have a real job at the time. You know, she had benefits and this and that. I had none of these things, and how like the electricity went off. And actually, I just told the bit wrong backwards in the conversation. She was mad at me because something was going on, like the cable wasn't paid or something, and the electric was off in the house, which made no sense. It was It was bad. But while I ended up, my first open mic I ever did was at a place called Lickety Split at 4th and South Street. And I remember Lickety Split very well. When you get to the side, I think right now it's called Milk Boy, but in between it was called like Second State or something like that. And the first few times I got on stage, it didn't feel right. But I knew I was saying some funny things. I got a couple laughs or whatever. That around that same time, I had gotten a Twitter account, and I followed a bunch of people in Philadelphia because I knew that, I'd never been on social media for I didn't have a Facebook till a couple years later. And I followed a bunch of people, and I ended up following a comedian by the name of Toure. And I was flipping through Twitter one day, just, seeing what the people I was following was posting. He had posted about a comedy workshop. And so I went down and I signed up. And the first time Toure ever saw me perform, he told me that I needed more stage time. And here it is, 2024, and this was 2011, and I've been chasing it ever since. It was good going into that atmosphere. The Laugh House, the Amazing Wid used to host the open mics. I still love Wid to this day. He's one of my biggest cheerleaders. It's good when certain people root for you. Also, where else? I started to go to. I couldn't find a lot of stage time, so I started going to every open mic that I could. And at the time, if I'm not mistaken, there was maybe only 3 or 4 open mics in the city, but others were popping up. For instance, the Urban Saloon, and shout out to Mary Rosinski and Carolyn Busa. I forget what their group was called, but they Laughs on Fairmount. Yes, Laughs on Fairmount. Shout out to them. They used to, do the open mic every Monday, and I would go every Monday faithfully. I think the Laugh Houses was on Wednesday. The Raven Lounge, what I found out about later on. Shout out to Center City Comedy. I know I'm not gonna name everybody correctly, but shout out to Tom Cassidy, and we'll come back to Cassidy. Shout out to H. Foley, Kevin Ryan, Dave Temple, Chris Cotton, rest in peace, Chris Cotton, and Ryan Shaner, who is still one of my favorite people. And when I see Ryan Shaner, we hug like we haven't seen each other in 20 years. The first time I ever went to the Raven Lounge, they used to have the first half, the second half, and then they would have I don't know what they called it, but I don't know if I was the one that coined it, but we started calling it the third half, because like after 1 a.m, it's whoever's not funny or people they don't know. And I think for like the first 6 to 8 weeks that I went to Raven Lounge, I would go up at 1 a.m. I never complained. Little did they know, at the same time I was also homeless, so I didn't really complain because I ain't really had nowhere to go anyway. But after about 6 or 8 weeks of doing that, Tom Cassidy pulled me to the side and he said, "Yo, I noticed you've been coming every week. Next week, I'm gonna get you on the first half." And he put me on, and I think I did the first half for like the next 3-4 weeks in a row. So shout out to him. He also has albums out, I believe, on YouTube and other streaming services. So look him up, Tom Cassidy. In my opinion, there are 3 types of comedy. There's mainstream, there's urban, and then there's alternative. So mainstream would be mostly like clean comedy, church comedy, or what people would call white comedy. Urban would be more so gritty, gritty, grungy, or black comedy. And then alternative, like the third, in my opinion, would be like alternative. And when I say alternative, I mean like improv or alternate forms of stand-up. Like if you've never seen, what is his name? The first ever musical guest of Saturday Night Live was Andy Kaufman, and Andy Kaufman was did not say a word, but it is one of the best things you'll ever see in life. Jim Carrey played him in a movie called Man on the Moon. But if you take alternate comedy out of it, there's mainstream and urban. When I first started doing stand-up in Philadelphia, there was mostly mainstream, and it still is to a certain degree. And there wasn't really that much urban that I could go to. So I went to all the mainstream rooms and shows and became Flavor of the Month. And when I say Flavor of the Month, that means like for a period of time, it could be 2 months or it could be, a year, that everybody wants to put you on a show so that they can show, just to get you on out and about and, get you some notoriety. So I was the Flavor of the Month a few times. I never really got into, even though I started at the Laugh House, I never really got into doing like the black rooms and black shows. And so like 3 years into my comedy career, I kind of stripped it bare bones and went back to the black side. And I treat stand-up comedy like I treat knowing or growing up without my birth mother. It's like I know that they like me, but I don't know if they love me, and I feel that way on both sides of that fence. Like in some black rooms in Philly, when I first started, I didn't feel like I was getting the love that was necessary, that they wasn't understanding me. And so I had to come back to the black side of things and make sure that, like, I'm the hoodest person I know. I'm from 52nd and Chester Avenue. When I walk, people move out the fucking way. I'm not a tough guy, but I look like I can hurt you. And that kind of got me through. I keep my head down. I pull my fucking boots up. I shit my pants and keep trudging. I don't bother nobody. I keep, and so not being accepted in some rooms, I was told to dumb shit down by legends of the city, and I still love them for that. But in my opinion, like, you're not gonna tell me that everybody is stupid. Somebody gonna get these jokes, and I'm gonna force them down your fucking throat, and you're gonna laugh at them, even if you gotta wait till you get home 2 hours later after the show. You're gonna realize it's fucking funny. And I guess we'll come back to comedy at some point, because there's so many stories I could tell, so much I could do. But it is time to move on to sports. It's been the past year in Philadelphia since it's the beginning of 2024. 2023 was a good year for Philadelphia. Baseball team went to the playoffs, basketball team went to the playoffs, football team went to the Super Bowl, lost on the last possession of the game. Right now, I covered it, I believe, in like the first episode, but the Philadelphia Flyers have stripped everything down, decided to do like a in-house rebuild, and so they hired a new general manager, who was Keith Jones, who won a couple cups with the Stanley Cup. The Stanley Cup is the prize that you win when you win the hockey tournament at the end of the playoffs, the NHL tournament. Keith Jones is now the president of hockey operations, and Danny Briere is a former Flyer player, is the general manager. And they got John Tortorella, and I know we covered it because I remember asking Excellence for the answer if he won a cup, and he did win a cup in the 90s. No, he won a cup in 2004 with the Rays, not the Rays, the other team in Tampa, the Lightning. Yes, he did. And but the Flyers are winning games and they're doing well, and I'm wishing them the best. I want to see them in the tournament. They got two great goaltenders. I can't remember the other guy's name, but Carter Hart is the first one. The second goaltender he stands on his head as well. That's a hockey term. If you don't know hockey, you won't understand what I just said. But they're doing well. The defense is not giving up bad goals. They actually play tight, tough defense, which is good. You like a good defense in hockey. And they've been scoring a lot. Shout out to Konechny. Konechny's been scoring a lot. And Cam Atkinson. I like the way he's playing as well. Moving right along, I had mentioned earlier that there's going to be there's going to be a player that's going to make a lot of NIL money, and I know he's going to get some of mine because I'm going to get this man's jersey. I believe he's going to West Virginia University. His name is Noah Kanega, and I didn't want to say it wrong, but it looks like nigga with a K in front. That shit is so good. Oh, it's the greatest name in sports I've ever seen. It's so good. and I want his jersey. I think he plays linebacker. I don't even know the guy's story. I probably should have looked all that up before shouting him out. But that shit is funny to me. His name is Noah Kanega, but it looks like it's Noah Kanega, but it looks like his name is Do You Know a Nigga? Like, that shit is fucking hilarious. Some shit just writes itself. We not gonna spend much time on that. Just know a nigga knows a nigga. And move right along in sports to the Philadelphia 76ers, my hometown basketball team. Joel Embiid is not breaking a record. He's participating in a record that hasn't been touched upon since Wilt Chamberlain played. But he has to catch Kareem Abdul-Jabbar first, and the record is having 30 points and 10 rebounds in however many straight games, and I think he is up to 15. He took a couple games off in the last few days. He hasn't really played that much in the new year yet, but the games that he has played, he's continued that record, and I think he's up to either 13 or 14, and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's record was 16, and then I think Wilt's was like 18 or 19. But he's doing something, Joel Embiid is, that is unprecedented for a big man to do, especially in today's NBA, where the big man is not valued as much as they have been in the past. And now I do say that knowing that Nikola Jokic, the Joker, is reigning NBA champion, and the last 3 NBA MVPs have all been centers, because it's going backwards. It's Joel, then Joker, then Joker. And then I think before him was Giannis, who's not a center, but he could play it if you need him to. And he's a big fella as well. But also Tyrese Maxey is probably the happiest player in NBA history. I've never seen this, other than like frustrating things during a game, I've never seen this dude down. He balls hard. Wishing the best for him and the Sixers as they go forward. And again, I'm gonna show some love to Tobias Harris. The Sixers recently, I guess, I don't know if it was before the new year or after it, they had a game where like all 3 of them dudes had 30 points and like 6 boards or something like that. Some crazy stat where all of them had 30 points, a certain amount of rebounds, a certain amount of assists. And they've been balling. They are like 4th or 5th in the East right now. And, I wouldn't want to play them in the playoffs. Plus, I think they still got cap space to, move a couple players and get somebody, get another star if they needed it. But the way that Nick Nurse has them playing makes it look like Doc should have been fired 2 years ago. And I'm a person that didn't want Doc to be fired. And I don't want to call this a retraction because I never downed them, but a lot of people are eating their words about James Harden not being a team player, because LA is balling. The Clippers are balling right now if you're not paying attention. So, I want to send a shout out to him. He did say he wanted to retire as Sixer, and one day Daryl Morey is going to have to answer that question, even though he's choosing not to at the moment. Moving right along, the biggest thing that I want to talk about in sports right now, the Phillies, I'm not going to talk about right now because I don't really have no info on them, and it's spring training is coming up in the next couple months, so we'll get around to them. But the Philadelphia Eagles, we bleed green around these parts, and we've been bleeding a lot of green. Like we've been bleeding a lot of green, guys. What's going on with y'all? I don't know what it is. I know the biggest thing, when I was younger, I heard the phrase that winning is the ultimate deodorant, and it kind of is, because the Eagles they started the season 10-1, and they were stinking in wins, and then San Francisco showed everybody how to basically pull the Eagles' pants down and beat their naked ass, and everybody's been doing it ever since. I think we got 1 win in the last 5 or 6 weeks. We beat the Giants, and then we just lost to the Giants this past weekend, and we got the playoffs coming up. We got to go to Tampa Bay. Do I feel like Sam? I don't feel like there's one individual reason or person responsible for how the Eagles have looked. What I will say is losing Shane Steichen, who was the offensive coordinator, and losing Jonathan Gannon, regardless of how you felt about him before or after the Super Bowl loss, has shown very much so. Also, I believe that it was irresponsible of I guess this would go to management. It was irresponsible of the Eagles to let T.J. Edwards, who was their middle linebacker last year, and Chris Gardner Johnson, he left and went to Detroit, or safety. I believe those two players are what's missing from that Eagles. Oh, and Javon Hargrave. Javon Hargrave was in the middle, but they let him, he walked. He left and went to San Francisco. I think those three pieces on defense are why the Eagles are suffering. It's not looking good. Teams are just flying by them, and they're not getting to the quarterback like they had last year at all. So I don't know if it was the scheme change. I believe them switching defensive coordinators in the middle of the year is not a good thing. It's not good. And I'm not saying that and I'm not going to say anything bad about Sean Desai or Matt Patricia, but what I will say is changing horses in the middle of a race usually don't help you win one. I'll leave it right there. That and the offense with the playmakers that the Eagles have on offense, and this is me playing Monday morning quarterback. If I was using them on Madden, we would run the ball. We would run the ball. Run the ball. There's no reason for you not to run the ball. Rashard Penny has played less than 20 snaps this year on offense. That makes no sense. Run the ball. You have Julio Jones. I understand you have Julio Jones and as your third wide receiver because of Devontae and AJ at receivers, and then Dallas. Like, y'all have so many playmakers, but run the ball first. Last year, when the Eagles went to the Super Bowl, I think it was like week 5 or week 6, Nick Sirianni finally listened to everybody and started running the ball. And they were keeping the ball away from people, but they were killing people in the second quarter last year. This year, they can't score at all after halftime. And that's not good with all the talent that you have. You got all those big road graders. You have a top 5 offensive line the last 4 or 5 years. There's no reason why you're not running the football. We have to go to Tampa Bay this weekend, and I believe it's on a Monday, which is terrible. They should not have playoff games on Monday because if whoever wins, they're getting shorted. They're not getting a full week like everybody else. But I digress. I'm not even going to make a prediction. I'm just going to let whatever happen. A lot of people feel like they don't deserve to be in the tournament, but you did enough to make the tournament after you lost the Super Bowl. And a lot of teams are trash after they lose the Super Bowl. So I'm proud of them, and I want them to do better. But, I mean, considering what happened last year, and I usually don't say this early, but they owe us a parade. The Eagles owed us a parade for many, many moons. We just got a parade in 2017. It's 2023. Because of last year, they owe us a parade. Because of 2022, because of 2022, that season, which ended in 2023, they owe us a Super Bowl parade. So we'll see how long it takes for us to get that. Jalen Hurts is not the same quarterback as last year. Defense is keyed in on him, but he also didn't help himself with some of the choices that he made. I hope that he's not doing what Donovan McNabb did to his career. And what Donovan McNabb did to his career was he stopped running. Run. And I don't mean to call design runs. I mean when they snap you the ball and you looking at everybody's covered and you can run. That's how Russell Wilson got to a Super Bowl and won it. That's how, Patrick Mahomes has won his Super Bowls. Even against us. He was running. He's elusive. You can't catch him. So if Jalen is hurt and he's not telling anybody, it'll come out after the season, whether it's this week, next week, or the week after, or we can make it back to the Super Bowl. I feel like they could tighten some things up, and anything can happen in a one try tournament. When to go home, bring out the best in everybody, or it's supposed to. So we're gonna see what it looks like. Want to take a moment to shout out the team here at Excellence. Excellence. Yeah, Excellence is doing their thing. I guess this last segment, before we get to the fucking outro, is gonna be about jobs and stuff, that I did for money. I never sold my ass or anybody else's, and I still won't. I still won't sell my ass or anybody else's for money. When I was a child growing up in West Philly, my father owned an appliance business called Hamilton Washer and Dryer Service. It was at 506 South 52nd Street from 1980 to 2011. We used to live above the store and all kinds of craziness. They used to do washing machines, dryers, stoves, and refrigerators. But it originally started with my great uncle, who was basically my grandfather, Uncle William Hamilton. Uncle Willie used to fix toasters and vacuum cleaners. And I don't even know, I guess at some point when we have Big Ham on the show, my father, we'll definitely cover that. That's coming up soon. That might be the 5th episode. This is episode 3, so in 2 episodes, my father should be here, which is great because he's been there like my whole life, and I love him. Growing up, when I was about 8 years old, my father started taking me on service calls with him. And I learned how to do. I'm a left-handed person. I learned how to do everything with my left hand that I can do. I learned how to do everything with my right hand that I can do with my left hand, except for right. That's the only thing I can't do. And I have nice penmanship. I can write cursive. They don't even teach cursive anymore. But he used to take me to people's houses, and I got to observe, use tools, but also with that, I was learning how to deal with people in their element, right? Because I'm 8, and already I grew up in an age where kids were to be seen and not heard. So if I spoke up, it was something either detrimental or it was important. Like something's going on, or it wasn't really no casual talk in people's houses, and that wasn't necessarily a rule of his, but it was just like, I'm in these people's house, I don't feel like comfortable. I know what we're here for. And then as I got older, I was used to just being in people's houses and just being quiet. So I would spend Saturdays, my dad would pay me, it would be $5. Up until I got old enough to drive. It was $5 per day that I worked for him, and I usually worked for him on Saturdays. But during the summer, I was there every day, and we would clean up the machines or whatever, and clean up the used appliances and go do service calls. And I wasn't old enough to do deliveries that came along later, but working for my pop was crazy in that he showed me a lot, and I got to learn from him. And my father is my hero. I idolize Magic Johnson and Charles Barkley and Doug Williams, but my father is my hero, because after I became a certain age and I understood the levity of him taking on 2 young boys in a world where most men, not even just black men, most men don't go get their kids, showed me a lot about him. And I will forever honor that man for that. And I know that I haven't had the best life possible for him to be proud of, but I hope that he's proud of me in some way, shape, or form. When I wasn't working for my dad, because he fired me a couple times, when you work with somebody and live with them, things can get out of hand. And it's not even that the lines were blurred. It was just like, yo, I'm tired of you and you're tired of me, and I can only say but so much because I am the child. And me and my dad had this interplay, and we still have it to this day, where if I'm wrong, he will not yell at me, but he'll talk to me about it. He'll say some things whether he's upset about it or not. He'll just talk trash to me. I have to build up if I catch him, I have to catch him being very, very wrong for me to get at him, and then I could hit him with the 4-piece uppercut combo like you do on a video game, like pat, 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 pat. But I have to wait until I get the chance to do that because it doesn't always appear. I can only curse, and this was at work and at home. I can only curse in front of my dad if it's warranted. Like it has, like growing up, I wasn't allowed to just curse because it was explained to me that a person that uses profanity too much does not know how to use their words properly. So for me to slide a fuck out there or a shit, something really had to be like, if I hit myself with a hammer, shit, like that would be okay. But for me to just drop it in casual conversation, hey dad, this shit corny. Hey, what you doing there? Calm down. Remember who you talking to. I'm still, I'm still your dad. Like, calm down. But working for my dad was a crazy experience. We got many stories. I'm gonna say those for him. When I was in high school, I graduated from Mass Bomb in 1995. In 1991, I got a filler job. And filler job used to be this organization. I don't know. I think they became City Youth or something like that. I don't know if they exist no more. But what they used to do was they would give you a job in the neighborhood of your school. And so we would meet somewhere off of Kensington and Allegheny. Back when there was only 4 dope heads. I think we covered that earlier. And we would like clean up the neighborhood and help different businesses. And every week on Friday, after the filler job, they would meet on Temple's campus. All of the schools would come together and they would have like an auditorium meeting. And the first week that they had it, they gave out condoms. And then they had a dude come in, I believe it was a dude, and like pull out the banana and put the condom on and show you how to use it or whatever. And me, I'm 14 and I'm a virgin. No, I started high school at 13 because I graduated at 17. So yeah, I was 13, I'm a virgin. They gave me condoms. I had a girlfriend. So right after we left the assembly, I went to my girlfriend's house and lost my virginity that day. So thank you for the job for getting me laid properly to where I wouldn't make a new baby. Shout out to them. We're gonna fast forward a little bit because there was a time when I'm 46 years old. 20 years ago, I learned how to cook by a friend of mine named Sean Gonthany. Props to him. We were doing a lot of bad street activity and playing video games all day long. And one day we were sitting in my crib playing the game, and he was like, "Yo, I'm Brute." He was like, "You Brute." He was like, "I know how to cook. So I'm gonna go to this restaurant, I'm gonna get in, then I'm gonna bring you in, train you to how to cook, and then you'll always be able to get a job." And that was absolutely correct. Because there used to be a place called John Harvard's Brew House out in Springfield or Stratford. It was straight out Route 30, and I used to catch a train out there. And Sean got me a job, and I started working for them. At the same time, I started working for another place called Delaware Valley Community College. I was a porter there. I got a great story about pissing off the back of a fucking regional rail train. Props to Papa Smurf if he's still alive. That was a great fucking story. We'll cover that one day. Where else did I cook? I cooked, and then me and my dad were on the outs, and he had fired me, and I was looking for work, and I was going through what's that free newspaper that they have on the SEP to give it to you? The Metro. Thank you, excellence, and with the help out. I was going through the Metro, and I saw that they needed people to come help clean up at the stadium after games. It was baseball season, or baseball season was about to start. And this was in 99. Right. So I go to the stadium, I have my resume. The lady takes one look at my resume. She said, "Oh, you know how to cook." I said, "Yeah." I wasn't that good at it at first. But by the time I got to the stadium, I was cool, and they definitely helped me. The lady took me to the chef. The head chef's name was Mike Trainer. Mike Trainer was one of the funniest people I ever met in my life. He's stern older white man. One day we were in the kitchen, and I had burnt staff mail, and he wrote me up, and I was good with that. But he came upstairs and somebody didn't do something right properly. He made everybody stop working and got us into like a, paying attention to him. And he said, "You guys are in here fucking this up. This day makes about as much sense as a monkey fucking a football." And then got back on the elevator and went back to his office. Not too many things like fucked me up, but that fucked me up. I wanted to do better, and we all did. I ended up cooking for 2 seasons. I did the last 2 Philly seasons, so I was working for the Phillies, and the Marlins were in town. You could double check that. I remember it on when 9/11 happened. I did the last Eagles game. I did the last Eagles season there. I was there the day that James Monroe, if you're an Eagles fan, you know that name because he was from the area. He came up here, got like 200 yards of offense with Peyton Manning. One of the worst losses, it was a bad loss that we had that year. I was there when the Eagles lost the NFC Championship game. And I hope I haven't told this story on here. The day before the NFC Championship game, Veterans Stadium was an oval, right? And it was very cold in there. It just snowed maybe 2-3 days before, minus 10 degrees with the wind chill factor. And the Veterans Stadium was the home of the rats, bats, cats, and dogs. We up in the 700 level smoking weed. And if you're a weed smoker and you work in the kitchen, if you don't know this, I would like to put you on game. When you smoke weed, even if you blow cigarettes and stuff on you, they can still smell it. But if you go stand in the freezer for like 3 to 5 minutes, it gets the scent off of you. So that's what we standing out there in the cold. It's a group of us. The NFC Championship game. At most playoff games, when you cooking, you get a lot more hours because you're cooking for your regular game day, but you're also cooking double because you can't run out of food. You're not allowed. No matter how much food they throw out after the game, you cannot run out of food. So he's working for Aramark. We took a little break. We was there from 9 in the morning to like 11 at night. And we're there cooking. We go on break. And at this particular time in the break, Tampa Bay Buccaneers are having their walkthrough. My homie Kenny, shout to him, he yells out, "Hey, Warren Sapp, you suck!" And we laugh for about 10 seconds, 15 seconds. And then there's like a dead cold silence. About 5 seconds after that, all you hear in the distance is, "Go back and make some more fucking hot dogs." And that nigga was Hot Dog Kenny the rest of the time that we worked there. It was so good. We're going to fast forward a little further. I was working for a couple of companies that delivered appliances used in the city, and they were not paying. I would get like $20 of delivery, $30 of delivery. I would go out on service calls. If I fixed, I'd get a couple dollars. So what I did was I was on Craigslist, right? And I saw somebody was looking for somebody that move appliances. And I was like, well, I know how to deliver appliances. This should be easy. And I met a dude named Vince. Shout out to Vince if he ever watches this. Mexican dude, pretty cool. Short, stocky, great dad, cool dude. And he was working for this place out King of Prussia called Queen Appliance. And I ended up working at Queen off and on for like 3 or 4 years. Queen was great. I enjoyed Queen a lot. I learned how to install dishwashers there. I learned how to deliver appliances with the straps there. Well, just one good story, and then we'll move to the next one because I see we almost running out of time. But I'm gonna keep going because I want to get these out. And shouts to excellence. I'm working for Queen. They had like subcontracted us to another company in Delaware. I wasn't driving and all this other craziness, whatnot, and we'll come back to that story because that's something different too. But I ended up losing my job at Queen because I was parked. They had 26-foot box trucks, and I just recently learned how to start driving them. And for those that don't know, in order to drive a 26-foot box truck in Pennsylvania, you need a DOT card. So you go to like the urgent care and you pay, I think it's like $100, maybe $150, and they give you a DOT card. That means you can drive anything 26 foot or smaller, right? If it's a truck. Anything over that, I think you got to get like a Class A or Class B CDL. But you can drive with, like a U-Haul truck with a DOT card. So I'm driving this 26-foot truck. I parked too close to a telephone pole, and there's a mailman behind me, and there's a car in front of me. The car in front of me moved, but instead of just turning out, I just pulled forward, and then I turned out, and I ended up ripping the whole back of the truck off. So much so that I had ratchet straps in my tool bag, which I usually didn't carry, but I just happened to have that day. And I ratcheted it back up. I turned my blinkers on. I drove the truck back to the warehouse. Told them what happened, filled out an incident report, took the truck back to Ryder. The next day, I come into work, and they said, don't clock in, come to my office. Now, if you ever hear that in your life, one or two things is going to happen. Either you're about to get the greatest promotion ever, or in most cases, you're getting fucking fired. And I knew I was getting fired, and that was cool. I got fired. I filed for unemployment. They tried to deny my unemployment. When they denied my unemployment in Pennsylvania, you don't go to a judge or a justice of the peace. You go to a referee. And there's a few buildings that they have it at, but mine, the one I did was in like Valley Forge. So I go to the Valley Forge, and I'm there with the referee, and my supervisor and the general manager of the store is there. And they're trying to deny me my unemployment. Well, you did this and you did that. And there was like some crazy stories. Like I was trying to uninstall a dishwasher, and the dishwasher was from like the late 80s, early 90s. And the water just kept leaking on the fucking floor. So I had to turn the main water off. And because the basement of that house had special tiles, they ended up having to pay like $30,000 to replace each and every one of them tiles and the ceilings and all that. So they were trying to bring that. And then another incident I had with a dryer getting scratched or something. And the referee told them in person, y'all can't talk about that. You can only talk about the truck. So they're like, well, you intentionally damaged the truck. And I said, why would I intentionally damage your truck? I've been working here for 4 years. Y'all are like family. Anybody that knows me, if we spend significant time around each other and we're making money and everything's cordial, I don't have a problem with you. I treat you like family. Like, if I'm throwing an event, I'm going to let you know. If I'm doing a show, I'm going to let you know. If you having an event, you let me know about it. If I can make it, I'm there. So I'm like, yo, I love y'all. Like, y'all are like family. This, that, and the third. And they was like, man, this bullshit. And I ended up winning, and I got all my bread. And then I started working for another company called Gerhard's. At Gerhard's, I got a few good stories about them. That's a good company. They're very, both companies are good companies. I'm not disrespecting either one of them. But I have a story. I stopped working for them about a year ago. I got laid off the day after Christmas. We'll come back to that one day and why that happened. But maybe 4 months before that, we'll say in October of 2022, I'm delivering, and I don't have my usual partner. Shout out to Sean. Sean's one of the coolest people I've ever met in my life. And that's not because he did a lot of the driving. I did all the sleeping. we would go to Baltimore. But Sean was off this particular day, and he rarely missed days. So it had to be an emergency of some sort. But anyway, I had a young Spanish fellow with me, and this guy spoke no English. Like, I'm using Google Translate on my phone to talk to this guy all day long, right? So we pull up to these people's house. I had loaded the truck that morning, so I know what was on the truck. These people were supposed to get a dishwasher and a stove. Now, if you ever purchase an appliance and it's supposed to be brand new, it comes in a box. I don't care what they tell you, unless you're buying it off the showroom floor, which you're supposed to get a discount for. If you ever purchase an appliance, I don't care, washer, dryer, stove, clock, radio, whatever it is, hood that go under the, you know what I mean, over the mic, over the, you know, where the microwave's supposed to go, the hood that goes there, whatever. Any appliance that you buy, air conditioner, if it's brand new, it's supposed to be in a box. So, pull up in the truck. It's me. We're in a 20-foot box truck. It's me, Spanish dude. I can't remember his name. I think his name was like Junior or something, but that probably wasn't his name. Anyway, so as I pull up to the house, the husband meets me at the door, and at the driveway, and he says, "I need to see the microwave because the last one that y'all brought was damaged." I said, "All right, cool." So I take the dishwasher microwave into the house. I cut it out the box. Not a blemish on it. Cool. He says, "All right, let's go outside and check the stove." I said, sir, is the stove supposed to be new? He said, yes, it's supposed to be new. I said, got some bad news for you because I'm the one that loaded the truck. Your stove is wrapped in cellophane. And what that means is it was taken out of the box and wrapped for some reason. You know what I mean? They either wrapped it because they wanted to preserve it or because it's used or whatever. So he yells up to the steps to his wife, hey, honey, you may want to come see this. Meet us at the truck. So we go out to the truck. My partner has slid the stove off and dropped it to the ground. The wife comes out, well, why is it wrapped in plastic? And I said, well, I don't know. I said, did y'all have another stove come out? And he said, yes, the stove that they brought was damaged. I look behind the stove. This stove is damaged. I turn it so they can see it. Turns out it's the same exact stove. Now, I had never been to this house before, but apparently this was their third visit. So I'm standing there and they're on the phone. The husband is on his phone and the wife is standing across from him. And she is adamant about somebody getting in trouble. And he's like, well, he's talking to the salesperson like, yo, you need to, find out who did this. And this is your third time here. And the wife is like, I'm very upset. And the husband's like, yeah, somebody needs to get in trouble for this. And the wife says, yeah, string them up. Now, as a black man in America, as soon as I heard those words, my antenna went up. I was like, what? What was even greater about this story is the Spanish dude that I had been working with all day. He tapped me on the shoulder and I turned around. He looked me in the eyes and said, Poppy, we go now. And walked around and got back in the truck. And we pulled, I said, well, we're going to have to do this another time. And we pulled off and left. The last story is one day, me and Sean were riding around in Montgomery County. Right off of City Line Avenue. We're in like Narberth or Berwyn or somewhere. So we're leaving one delivery on the way to the next one. This is after the story. I get a phone call from my boss, Anthony is a cool dude. I think he still works for Gerhard's, but he calls me on the phone. He says, hey, Lump, did you tell a roadway foreman to eat a bag of dicks? And my response was, yes, I did, Ant. Here's why. And here's why. So me and Sean were leaving a delivery and we're in the 26-foot box truck. And everywhere that we go, as we're trying to leave this like cul-de-sac, it's a lot of little cul-de-sacs and little small places that you can't take certain trucks. We're leaving this particular neighborhood and every street is like blocked off, but there's no traffic on them. I tell Sean like, yo, we might as well just go through there. We can leave. As we're pulling up, there's 2 trucks parked on the side of the road, and we're about a block away, and the guy hops out of his truck and he's flagging us down all stupid. Hey, so we stop and he says, y'all can't be here. And Sean says, well, we're leaving, so we can go through. And he says, yeah, but I got all these people coming through and they supposed to come start digging the street up any minute now. And Sean was like, well, we're going to leave. He said, y'all just don't adhere to the rules because I don't even know how y'all got in here. I said, well, we came in to deliver an appliance, but now we're leaving. And he said, well, y'all must not know how to read. You know what, sir? Eat a bag of fucking dicks. And you know what? I don't regret saying that to him because I'm a nice guy. And we literally were saying we're leaving. I truly believe that he didn't call because I said that to him. He called because the second truck, there was a young dude sitting in it and he heard it and he died laughing after I said it, after we pulled out. And those are just a couple of job stories. We're going to sit down and write some, and I might have to go back through this and finish some stories that I started. We covered some things. We covered some jobs, me cooking, me working for my dad, me delivering appliances professionally. I delivered appliances for 30 fucking years, from the age of 15 to 45. And unless they paid me $35 an hour, I would never go back. I'll help people, but there's no. They were paying me $13 and $14 and $16 an hour to live me and another person to live 400-pound refrigerators with fucking TVs and shit on them inside of them. Take the doors off of them and lift them up townhouses up 3 flights of steps. I'll never do that again unless they pay me properly, and they're not going to, because that's how life works. We also talked about sports. We talked about Noah Kanega, who's going to make a lot of money in the NIL, but I know a nigga that should make more. We also talked about my early years in stand-up, and we'll that's a recurring story because there's so many. I've been doing stand-up, be 13 years in 2 weeks that I've been doing stand-up comedy. There's so many stories and so many people that helped me and so many people that talked to me and showed me the way that that's going to be a whole show in and of itself at some point. We also covered the current events about the Super Rain in Philly and about Cat Williams crapping on everybody. Not even crapping on everybody, just telling his truth as he saw it, and we'll leave it at that. You know what? I'm just about tired of bumping my gums. I think this is another good episode. I talked for a lot. I hope you listened. I hope you learned something. Love, peace, hair grease. I'm out.